Good evening, good evening. Thank you. Can everybody take a seat? We're going to go ahead and get started. Let me see if I'm in my frame. I have my little camera there with my light. So let me say hi to Street News family. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Lupita Gutierrez. So I'm just your humble servant. I swear I'm not a rock star tonight. Something's going on with my eyes, that any light sensitivity, so I'm leaving the glasses on, but I promise I'm not trying to look like Tony Stark. Plus, I can't make these look good, like Judge Rosie. Judge Rosie, any glasses you wear, you can rock. Am I doing a good job? Okay, perfect. Well, I'm your humble servant, Lupita Gutierrez, but my title is Director of Community Engagement for District 124. That's Josey's district, and I'm very proud and happy to be with her team. I've known Josey for about 5 years, along with Pharaoh and all of the team. I met everybody 5 years ago during COVID, doing community work. So from here to then, fast forward, we've been on some crazy, amazing missions. We've done things that people said, no, you can't, we've done them. And we've been in places where people say, no, you shouldn't be there. We're there. So that's what I love being with Josey, is her grit. I also love being with Josey's team because not only as a friend, but she has a way with people. Doesn't matter if you're Republican or you're a Democrat. You know, she really has a way of reaching your heart to support her and her initiatives. So that's why we're here tonight. I do want to say that we are live tonight on SA Street News, a page that was formed by Sarah Lucy 5 years ago. We just hit 151,000 followers and growing. The page is growing. Thank you. Thank you, because it's an amazing page for everything community, food, insecurities, resources. It's neighbors helping neighbors, and that's why our page is very popular. We are tonight allowing this event. So tonight's, one of the things tonight was, a topic is off the table. What I love about Josey is that she's ready to talk about anything, food insecurities, any kind of issue, she's ready. And yeah, so please feel engaged later on to ask questions to our panel of professionals, which I'll let her introduce. But for now, I'd love to introduce, and Gilbert, if we could get the music ready. I'd love to introduce your state representative for District 124, Miss Josey Garcia. Yes. She may be wearing those pearls, but let me tell you, she is ready. The gloves are off tonight. All questions on the table will be answered. Yes, we're ready for her. And she's ready to fight for you at the Capitol. She's been doing that for her second term. Ready to go into another term. Josey, thank you so much.
All right, y'all. Pearls on, gloves off. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know a lot of you had no idea what you were doing tonight. All I know is that you saw Josey Garcia's name on the flyer and decided that you was going to take a leap of faith and join me tonight. So thank you. Let's give yourselves a round of applause, please. Because you know what this means? It means you showed up. Let me tell you something about showing up. Showing up changes lives. Showing up changes laws. We're going to talk about something tonight that I've been compelled to talk about for quite a long time. And we're going to call it protest to policy. Now let's think about that for a second. Protest to policy, what does that even mean? Well, I'll tell you right now, I know I'm surrounded by a room of protesters, and I'm talking from my friend, who I love to call my tío, Henry El Zapatista Rodriguez. Sir, if you could please join me at the stage. Come on down, Henry. Come on down, sir, if you'll take the stage. El Zapatista, he is a civil rights activist from back when being Mexican was illegal. He was a civil rights activist when there were whites-only water fountains. He has been taken down and brought back up a million times over. And why I felt it was so important to have him as tonight's conversation is because we need to talk about the past. But not only that, what are we going to do for the future? And I'll tell you what, Mr. Henry, he shows up for everything we do. Thank you. Now, my left hand is sweating, so I'm going to take it out of there. Okay, there we go. Shout out to Lupita. Thank you so much, Lupita and Mousy, for being here and just being so supportive of us. The focus of us videoing tonight, y'all, is to be very uncomfortable. A lot of you know I barely post on social media unless it's my workout stuff or our saving the community. But it's important that we get the message out, because one thing that we've been learning is that there's other people that are a little bit louder than we are right now. And our human rights and our civil rights and just our faith in humanity is wavering because of it. And so we really want to talk about being a part of that by now bringing up our friend, our brother, fellow veteran, Judge William Cruz Shaw. If you could please come to the stage, sir, take your space. Judge Shaw, he's former councilman, former Navy, former councilman. He's now in the juvenile courts, and he serves up a dose of tough love with a real heart. When a lot of judges go to court and they have on the black robe, you know, symbolism means a lot, y'all. Symbolism means a lot when it comes to how people receive us and the punishments we receive. Who will love us and who will accept us. And sometimes when you walk into a courtroom and you see a judge and it's that black robe, you know, you feel very, intimidated. And Judge Shaw, he'll go out and he'll wear his guayaberas and his shirts and he'll show off his tattoos. And he gets to the core of these kids and where they come from and letting them know that there is indeed restoration and justice and hope in the world. So thank you, Judge Shaw, for being here. And as we talk about today's civil rights fight, where we're witnessing, y'all, I'm just going to be honest. We're witnessing a biblical phenomenon occur right before our eyes. Would you believe me if I told you that? Let's think back to 2020. We'll keep it in recent years, since now we're going to talk a little bit about recent history. 2020, we thought we was gonna explode. We go outside. We were scared to go to the corner store. We were afraid to go to our children's games. We were afraid to send our kids to school. This COVID-19 virus, nobody knew what it was, and we were afraid. People were dying. People lost their lives. They were losing their communities. They didn't have a home. And I remember we had to be a part of not dying at home, of being a part of something bigger. And during that time, the world had this cataclysmic event happen to where the whole nation responded to the unjust killing of George Floyd. When that happened, you had people from all walks of life, from all parts of town coming together. You had folks from the Northwest side coming down. You had veterans coming out. You had people bringing their children. You had judges like Judge Rosie Speedlin Gonzalez, who, despite being a judge, and not despite or in spite, but while being a judge, she knew she couldn't actively come out and support protest. So what did she do? What did I tell y'all? Symbolism means everything, right? When you would go downtown and we would march, we would see Black Lives Matter signs. We would see pride signs. We would see the fist symbol that we all recognize from the civil rights fight. And what you would see is a young man who arose from the ashes, who led thousands of people throughout San Antonio who were protesters, who were angry, who were mad at him, blaming him for being the problem of what was happening here, while he was working together with Mayor Ron Nirenberg to find a solution, to make sure that San Antonio didn't turn into all these other places where we were seeing protests bring down our community. It was by the grace of God that the Lord put me in contact and made my world collide with my brother in advocacy, my partner in everything I do, my now Chief of Staff, Pharaoh Clark. If you come up, sir, and take your seat. Now, it's very important for me to be able to share these wonderful individuals with you all, because what we're witnessing is a repeat of a history that has already happened. We experienced a similar thing in 2020 where there was this radical sensation of not feeling as safe as we once used to. And so today we're going to talk about some of those things. If anyone has any questions in the crowd, please have your questions ready. We're going to be accepting those. We want to make sure that we spend time with all of you addressing your questions while we're here, since you've been so patient for us. Thank you so much, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Mr. Pharaoh Clark, in the rise of 2020, you were at home minding your own business when you turned on the news and you witnessed an international and national event unfold. Tell that story.
So I think everybody remembers 2020 when we all witnessed the killing of George Floyd live on TV. And for me, it's not something that in my community we weren't familiar with, that these things happened. But I think for the world, it was something that happened different when we saw it. It's something that made it I think personal for everybody. And at that moment, it kind of really changed my life, because I had two choices to decide of what I was going to do. Was I going to go back to life after watching that as if I had not seen it? Or was I going to get involved in community, and what you talk about is turning protest to policy? And that was the moment that I decided for me to get involved in activism and to really make it a part of my life. I had done things before, but that was when it really sat with me that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Now, when you say you've done things before, that's kind of a segue into how you first met Judge William Cruz. So if you could share that story real quick and roll over into that conversation, where I would like Judge Shaw to then go on and share some of his thoughts on that experience. And Judge Shaw, because you are working with our youth. Cruz. Okay, that's fair. Yes, that's fair. Okay. So, and if you could kind of segue that into, how do we tell our youth right now, a lot of whom you are seeing in courts, in your courts, how do we give them the hope to stand up and stand against the grain like Pharaoh did when he met you? So that's kind of like a two-parter. How do we roll it over into the impact of that onto how now you, as a judge, maybe mentor young people?
Okay, so I'll start with 2017, which is when we kind of met in City Council. At that time, I really had no idea of the process. I was sitting at home, and I saw that there was a lot of attention around taking down these Confederate statues. At that time, I really didn't have an opinion one way or another, but it started to be this like loud noise in the community that I wanted to learn more about. But I remember specifically there was a woman who was killed. She was protesting at one of these events to get a statue removed, and a car drove through the crowd and ran over her. When that happened, once again, immediately I felt like, wait a minute, something's going on here, and I wanted to know more about why is this so important that someone would take a life over a statue. So I went down to City Council. I saw a lot of arguments going both ways, for or against the removal of the statue. And as I heard both sides, I quickly formed an opinion on which side I was on. So at the very next City Council, I signed up to speak. I feel I gave a very passionate argument about why I felt the statue should be removed and what I felt should happen with them. And I remember something very powerful. There was a city councilman that was sitting up on the dais. And again, I had never been to city council before, so I didn't know any of the city council. But I realized there was a city councilman that was sitting up there that resembled me. He looked like me, and what I mean by that, he was African American, he's black. And I'll never forget, it stuck with me because it was something that let me know that even as a young black boy, and even as someone who had been in trouble myself in the justice system, it made me feel in a space that we usually feel we don't belong. It made me feel like, wait a minute, maybe we do belong. And I remember, after giving that speech shortly and after talking to city council, I was able to meet and talk with them. And he told me that if there's anything you need, you let me know. And I told him this before, but those words really resonated and stayed with me. And then later on in 2020, when I got involved, once again, I saw him again, right back there, still involved in the community. And it was really good because, now you look at everything and it's like it's all come full circle.
So this is embarrassing, but I'll be honest with you about this. So we're on council doing the Confederate statue. It wasn't my CCR. They're like, Cruz has to be a part of this. All right, bet. Let's just take care of this. And I see 4 guys walk up, dressed in nice, long hair. So first thing I'm thinking is like, why is Bone Thugs and Harmony here? Like, why is Bone Thugs here?
Wake up, wake up,
Yes.
wake up.
So in my mind, I never saw someone look like that. And so I prejudged this group. I'm like, damn, we're gonna have somebody like, I don't know. When they spoke, that whole council chambers shrunk. Because their words were that powerful, that articulate, and that meaningful. So I had to check myself. I said, you know what? We come from all different shades, all different styles. We're all different people. But when your heart's in the right place, you feel it, you dig it. And so he'll tell you, I went down there, I was like, my bad, homie. I judged you because of the way y'all walked up. But man, you are about to change your world. And you continue to go out there and change your world. And that was my first interaction with Pharaoh. And now he's all right. What he's done for me is been able to set my preconception notions of people aside and judge people for who they really are. We all say we do that, but do we really? Do we see people like, you know what, I have a certain idea about you. Or the way you're dressed, I think a certain way about you. Until they open their mouth and they prove otherwise. We shouldn't have to go on with that. I should trust you from the very beginning until you prove the other things. So I want to thank you, Pharaoh. But that's dealing with these kids that I deal with every day. I have to put aside their tats on their face, the way they speak, the way their parents look, put that all aside. You're all great human beings that are trying to find a way. So let's work together to figure out how we can best benefit our community and our families. So in terms of the kids, portray that to these kids. Go out there and rule the world. It's okay to be smart. It's okay to listen to your parents. It's okay not to have a record. It's okay, and you'll still be cool. You'll still be dope. Don't be afraid of success. And I learned that from watching him and his partners come up to city council, bold as they are, to help take down that Confederate statue. So, Pharaoh, appreciate you, man.
So, Zapatista.
Henry, real quick. So, Theo Henry, he asked me one day, he said, why do you call me Theo? And I said, because we respect you. You're always boots on the ground with us at the front lines. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can outrun a lot of these young folks these days, by the way. Theo Henry joined us in the Hill Country when we went down to serve and try to bring some love and hope to the Hill Country. He went with us to the Dilley Detention Center, where we went to go advocate for children who were being unjustly kidnapped off the streets in other states and brought down here and thrown in warehouses and prisons. Thank you for taking this opportunity to share with us. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey in the civil rights fight from back when you first became a young Zapatista to now, as you still fight and see what's happening today?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. Let me just say that I get inspired every day that I see somebody step up for the right reasons. I get inspired, these two gentlemen here, I get inspired by looking at one of my heroes, Josey Gonzalez. I get inspired by watching John Lida, Robert Mihara. Why? Because they're here. And they have always been there, and I see it. I've learned that, of course, that we're all victims of our own environment. And at one time, I was not so great growing up, listening to older folks. But then, just like you said, you judge people the way they dress, you judge people even by the way they walk or talk or whatever. But then you see those that inspire you, and you wanna emulate them. You wanna be like them someday. So when there is, I saw on TV a commercial and it says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I want to be inspired. I want to be something. I want to be respected. I want to earn that respect more than anything. Okay. So growing up, I don't know. I just had it in me. I wanted to be a civil rights activist. Somehow it grew on me. I guess because my mother worked for the pecan shelling company. Slave wages, you name it. And she followed Emma Teneyuka, and she would always brag about that Emma helped them organize and win. And one day, she's watching TV, and she's telling me, see those politicians there? They're bringing communism into the system. And I asked her, Nana, do you know that lady that's your hero, that you always brag about, do you know that she was a communist? And she said, well, let me think. I don't care if she's the only one that helped us. Aww. So that was so beautiful. Again, you don't judge people. They come from all walks of life. And if they do good things, you appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that kind of loops us back around to, we've been witnessing a lot of negativity happening over the last year. We'll leave it simple and just say the last year, okay? We don't have to talk about it. But over the last year specifically, a lot of division across the board, y'all. I mean, across the board. I'm talking from the way you dress, like we heard Zapatista mention, the background, the way you present yourself, what school you went to, what sport you played, who your parents were, are you really from here, are you not? Those are a lot of things that we've heard over our journeys that have, kept us from feeling capable of advocating for each other. Pharaoh, despite all of the hardships that we face in terms of being present, because being present during a time like now, y'all, it hurts. It hurts, trust me. Matter of fact, you could be as close to a saint as possible, and it's gonna hurt right now. Because there's some folks that just, their mission is not unity, it's not bringing us together, it's not helping us thrive. What is your perception and what do you think from our experiences from protest to policy, how we've navigated, right? The barriers that have been presented to us to try to keep us out of rooms, out of tables, out of being present. But we've been able to kind of overcome, and that we need to encourage people to overcome.
So for me, I think one of the biggest barriers that we've had has been our look, our presentation. I think for both of us, we're definitely not the typical, they're not typical politicians at all. And so I think when we come into some of these places, you're immediately greeted with a different type of attitude. And we've had to overcome that. And it's the same when we, in the activist world, we had to always overcome certain things, whether it was you're not dark enough, whether it's a certain room and I'm not light enough, and we've always had to push past this. But the thing that for me is more disturbing that I would like to touch on is not so much what the others see, because that's something that we know. We know that we always are going to have to fight to change others' opinions. For me, what's so frustrating is that most of that we saw was from our own people, which again, it's not a bad thing because like you said, it's something that I feel is normal. We have to teach ourselves not to be prejudiced, because as much as we say that we're not, and as much as we ask others not to judge us, we all have preconceived notions that are formed in our head because we live in a society that gives us these, whether it's what we watch, whether it's what we read, whether it's what we listen to. We're taught these stereotypical things that form the very basis of racism. And so for me, it's a big part of why we haven't been as successful as a whole. Because like you said, you go to fight for someone and the first thing they want to know is, well, does he have a record? Well, why is his hair like that? Well, why is he wearing a hat? Well, why do they all have suits? Well, do you want someone who's fighting for you, or do you want to wonder about his dress code? Are you wonder about who, you know what I mean? So there's all these things, which again, they're normal thoughts that we have, but it's the barriers that we have as a people from getting things done. We won't work with each other due to race, due to differences in religion, differences in background, differences in where you came from. All these are soldiers that you're neglecting on the battlefield. And to me, when you're in a war, you bring every warrior possible. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care who you're sleeping with. I care about getting the job done. I care about winning. And when we as a people start truly thinking like that, then we will start to win. We lose every time because we're divided. And I think that's some of what we've learned coming together. When we went through 2020 and we saw a lot of changes get done policy-wise, and we saw some changes get done as far as how they started treating these accountability situations. But if you look at that, there was no one race of people that made that happen. You had people from all walks of life. You had people from every background. I stood right there and I met Zapatista, and I'm like, this is what it's about. You see the civil rights from the beginning. You see it still fighting today, but you see it all coming together. And when we divide, we're so much weaker.
So, okay. Are there any questions from the crowd before I ask too much?
Okay, here's an amazing young individual here in San Antonio. If you don't know him, his name is Cruz. Yes, he is the founder and CEO of...
Hello, everybody. Hello, beautiful people. I'm Christopher Sabula. I'm the founder of the Law Foundation. I have two questions. One for Judge Shaw, and the other one will just be an open. Judge Shaw, just being curious, do the youth that are experiencing incarceration in the juvenile system, are they receiving any type of mental awareness classes that teaches them the importance of their thinking, or simple mindfulness exercises to equip them with the self-control that makes them more productive upon release?
This is another question. I met you.
Yes,
Yes, you do amazing work.
Thank you.
If I saw you, I know you. And so I know what you do. And the work that you do with our young people is amazing. And I'll say this, to answer your question, yes. In TJJD, as well as in prior or on probation, they address the mental health issues, okay? The difference is this. Some professionals can't break that barrier of being open and inclusive. What does that mean? One of the reasons why I don't wear the robe, I'm removing that initial barrier so you see who I really am, wearing my white letters, my tattoos, where I come from. I don't have to prove to anybody that I'm a professional. I don't have to prove to anybody that I am a judge. I don't have to prove it. So what you do is amazing because there's no barrier. And I saw you talking to that young man, and he was listening to you. And I was like, that's what we need in our communities. We need more people like you out there working with these young folks, trying to get their minds. We've all been young, okay? We've all been young, and I say this time and time again. People who've heard this are probably getting tired of it. The days of us going behind the gym smoking weed is over. The days of us going behind and getting a sip of gin and juice, going to school with Little Buzz, those days are over. Our kids are smoking meth, fentanyl, crack's coming back. They can't fight, so now they got guns. But they need someone who looks like them, talks like them, say, you know what? Be smart. It's okay to make an A in algebra. It's okay to be able to shoot a basketball. It's okay to listen to mom and dad. It's okay to listen to your theater because they want the best for you. And that's what we need to be showing our kids. So you being a part of that is amazing, dope, and you keep doing it. Whatever I can do to help you out, same thing I told Pharaoh, you let me know. I'm on board.
I guess that goes in with my second question, because if you are a believer of lived experiences does improve the outcomes of youth, what barriers are currently placed for the lived experience not being able to be hired or being even more involved with the justice juvenile system? Like, what is stopping y'all from institutionalizing these roles? Institutionalizing these roles. If you're a believer that lived experiences does improve the outcomes of the youth, what barriers are currently placed that is stopping the lived experiences from being hired or even being even more involved with the justice juvenile system?
Okay. That's a great question. So we've worked with probation as well as the state to remove that barrier. We have certain organizations in San Antonio, i.e. Stand Up. They are community activists who work with our young people and adults in the community. The problem is they've all done time. Okay? So when they've done time, people don't trust them. They can't go into our jails. They can't mentor because of that record. So they're trying to eliminate that. That's something on a state policy level that's been addressing that for forever. Also, one of the barriers, not in terms of employment, but it's in terms of barriers for our kids, they gotta shake the mentality of being street. We have to shake that mentality. You can be straight as a kid and kind of go through your thing, but you have to get to a point in your life. I hit that point. When it was, I couldn't tell you, but there was a point where I am not going back. I'm not. If anyone who's gone to prison, when you walk out of prison, it says 85% of you are coming back. They're telling you you're coming back to prison. So you have to train your mind to say, you know what? I'm a 15%. So then you get those individuals and say, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm 15%. But then you need a community that's going to support that 15%. Because it's easy to fall back in the 85%. It's easy to sell dope. It's easy to steal cars. It's easy to fight, whatever. That's a fallback. It's easy to do that. It's harder to say, you know what? I ain't about that life no more. We used to be homies, not anymore. And we shun those individuals until they become successful. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, we're working to try to eliminate that barrier, but we have to eliminate our own barriers with our own communities by supporting successful young men and women.
Zapatista, do you have anything to say about the barriers?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, man. Appreciate it very much. I can relate. I have tons of stories. Let me think of one. But back in the day, his name was Josey Garcia. He was an evangelist, Chicano evangelist. He worked with nothing but people that had been in prison, people that had done drugs and all this stuff. And he was so great, he was so good, he sent his people into the jail to minister to those inmates there. Somehow the jailer, the sheriff, Harlan Copeland was his name at the time, he said, no more, threw them all out. Why? Because they have records and, they can be doing all this. We proved to them they had the best record of working with the inmates, with the people that were in trouble, that had been in prison, that I said, you cannot argue with success. And we marched, we did all this. It was a beautiful victory to get them back in because they could relate. They had been there where those guys were going to. They could relate to them, and they could make changes, positive changes. You know, right now in my LULAC council, I have 2 gang members. They did a lot of time, administrative segregation, and they're working hard to redeem themselves. My sister here, Sonia de la Garza Walker, we meet every single week. It's a gun control coalition started, of course, by our hero, Josey. And so we work with them, but those 2 guys, one of them, my childhood friend, they are gun-ho with LULAC and the coalition that we have, that they're doing very well. And hey, being in the Mexican mafia, they can't get out of it, but they don't have to participate anymore. They're old already, and so I guess the higher ups are saying, man, you're doing great. I'm proud of you. I think that's what they're saying because they don't bother them. They continue doing it, and they're with us. And man, I could not be more proud of those 2 guys. And I wish that I had brought them here, but they will tell you.
I don't know if you remember this. We were still doing Zoom. And the boxer that got in trouble in juvenile, and you showed up on Zoom. And it says, if he doesn't act right, I'll take him to juvenile myself. Yeah, and he's doing good. He's Golden Gloves.
Yeah, another question.
Okay, so as an ex-offender and worked as a drug and alcohol abuse LCDC with drug court with Judge Parker a few years back. Loved it. Best job of my life. I believe this gentleman has something going, but we could do it with mentoring. And I know, you got to be vetted and all that. There's always ways to be able to do it. Henry and I, we get into everywhere. And they know our record. They know we have, charges. It's okay. And I know there's ways to probation. I know there is. So I think you got something going. Seem to be a really smart young man. I have a mentoring program with the Alamo colleges that I started a few years back. It's raised the enrollment by 58% now. Let's raise that percentage, and you can start that.
Thank you so much. Yes, Chris Sepulveda was recognized by Josey for all the work that he does with his organization, and he has great connections here, and that's what this is all about. We encourage everybody to network before. We have another question right here from one of the candidates, and I'll let her tell you about it.
Hi, I'm Shannon Rebecca Salomon. I'm running for County Clerk and Greenville County. Thank you. It is scary. Yes, thank you for that. I will take that because I'm so far out of my comfort zone. But my question was about the local nonprofits that you support, and I wondered if you wanted to educate us on, because there's a lot of them, and there's some that rise above the others as far as making a difference.
Thank you so much for asking that, but thank you for having the bravery to put your face out there to run for office. Thank you. So round of applause, please. And with that being said, I want to say if any of you want to run for office, please reach out to us. We're happy to talk to you about our journey. It's for all of us. Okay, so don't let that be a barrier. With that being said, we've been grateful that pretty much everybody that you see here has been involved, boots on the ground, with helping our community as well through our nonprofit work, through our collaborations with other nonprofits. We have our own nonprofit, Uniting America Outreach. It was born during 2020, back when we were buying out of our pockets. Pharaoh and I trucked loads of food, semi-truck loads of food that I talked them into letting us go and rent ice cream trucks, and we were loading them up and taking them all around town and giving away food because people didn't have access to food. Well, we had to have that EIN. Well, through that, we've become a rapid response team. Anytime there's a crisis in the community, pretty much 9 times out of 10, folks are looking at us to see when are we going and what do we do. It takes us sometimes to the borders of Del Rio. It takes us to Ciudad Acuña, Mexico. It takes us pretty much anywhere where there's the Hill Country here recently. But we're also partnering with organizations like Catholic Charities, and there's a lot of other partners too. Forgive me for not having them listed in my head right now, but we'll be happy to share more of our nonprofits partners with you. But the point is that we're trying to connect with those nonprofits that are actually doing the work, right? I think a lot of times when we want to be involved, whether it's politically, whether it's in the nonprofit world, we go someplace to try to see where we can help, and we're being either turned away, we're afraid of, being judged, or we feel like we don't belong. The one thing that I can tell you is no matter who you are, you belong with us. Unless you're on the Epstein list, and then to stay right out my square. But, you know what I mean? It is now 8 p.m., so I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Lupita, are you going to take it from here?
Yes, I'm going to take it. If we want to have final comments from your panel, we have another panel coming up with another topic, so we want to give them opportunity.
No more questions?
Any more questions on these topics? And no questions are left off the table. You can ask anything. And Josey,
yes, Dr. Chris in the back.
Yes.
To the gentleman's issue about why things don't change, it's hard to talk about the great work that you're doing when our policymakers in Austin and Washington, D.C., that's a difficult conversation to have. Those issues are complex. It's much easier, and it gets emotions much more riled up to say, there's men in the women's bathroom, there's men playing against girls in sports. Those things get people riled up, and you can say that in 10 seconds. The work you're doing is complicated, and it takes a little bit longer to explain why that's so much more effective. You get what I'm saying? So there are politics involved with that, and it's just really hard to break through that. And I know that's what Josey is trying to have, those complicated discussions instead of those simple, emotional issues.
Yes, and Dr. Chris, I want to thank you. I'll call you Dr. Chris forever. I want to thank you because he's a professor at UTSA, and he invited Pharaoh and I, along with Debbie Bush, the aunt of Marquise Jones, who was shot by SAPD, I believe, unjustly. It was an unjust homicide. And so we were part of the conversation surrounding advocating for victims of police brutality. And we were right in the throes of protest and of news. And y'all be careful in news media. They paint the picture the way that they want to, and let them tell that we were burning down the whole building and tearing things apart. But Dr. Chris opened his academic classroom to us to share with his law students who were hopefully to be good, serving.
And they got so much out of your talk.
Thank you, sir.
What's your name again? Christopher. And I'm going to tell you this too, man. And this is going to be very, somewhat controversial. Okay? There's some people out there or some organizations out there that don't want to see you be successful. Okay? And they're in some high places. They're helping black and brown kids in the street deal with their issues. Some people don't want them dealing with their issues. They want them to come into me and go into the adult side, going and get institutionalized. So keep that in mind. The struggle's real, but I've seen your work. So I've seen your resume is good with me. Others who haven't seen it and just hear the story, let's put money elsewhere. Let's put resources elsewhere. Let's not worry about Christopher and what he's doing. You keep doing what you're doing, okay? You got a whole community here to support you, man. And like I said, this community will continue to support you as long as you continue to do the right thing.
Something I wanted to add to that was, while I know Josey and I would help you on the legislative side, as in trying to figure out what laws are barriers, and we can help trying to fix that, but I know that's a whole other hurdle because it's an uphill battle there. So sometimes it's also thinking around that, because one thing that came to mind to me was working on the outside of the system. Because if you form your nonprofit and you raise funds from the community or from other sources, whether it's grants or what have you, and then you more reach the parents from outside the probation, because it may be hard for a probation department to say, hey, I want to take your kid who's already having troubles and link them up with this criminal. Instead, you form your organization that has proof in what it's doing, and you reach the parents of these kids and say, hey, if your kid needs a mentor that's going through what they've been through, bring them through our program. And I think that's a way quicker way. And you will have parents that will get involved and that will try something because they're trying everything and they're desperate for something new. But don't put all the hope on going through the system. Sometimes you have to go around the system.
Well, thank you all so much for being here. Y'all give a round of applause to our wonderful panelists. We have Pharaoh Clark, civil rights activist who is archived in the Whitty Museum, by the way. So if you all ever get over to the Whitty Museum, check them out. We have Cruz Shaw, Judge Cruz Shaw, also running for re-election for the 436th District Court. We have Zapatista Henry Rodriguez, our friend, our Theo, and hard civil rights activist, leader of LULAC. Thank you all so much for joining us.